So I just said to Shelby, I asked whether or not she thought that she might be sensitive to electromagnetic stress or fluorescent lighting, and she said no. And I did a very quick little test and it said yes. So I thought, well, this could be a good one to check as well. EMFs, so electromagnetic frequencies, are everywhere these days. And there's research that indicates that they are building up in our cells. They're being linked with anxiety, stress, suicidal tendencies, all sorts of things. So it's one of those things where, for a start, we need to be protecting ourselves at home, doing anything you want, sort of things like crystals, things like peace lilies, things like, salt lamps, whatever floats someone's boat. There's also devices you can get, lots of companies make them, that help to block certain frequencies and make them less damaging to us. It doesn't mean that you turn the microwave on for 10 minutes and stand right in front of it. That's still not sensible. Staying away from your modem at home is still sensible. Turning your phone onto flight mode at night is all sensible. We've got to protect ourselves from EMFs because the governments aren't going to protect us. So we've got to look after ourselves. So what I'm going to do before I add fluorescent lights, which is just one form of EMFs, what I'm going to do before is check your adrenals, survival switching, deep survival, hidden deep survival. I'll also check your celestial circuit. And then I'll put the fluorescent lights over you and see what collapses. Just for fun. Just for fun. Okay, so firstly, let's pull on your big toe. Hold up for me. This is an adrenal test. So that flexor hallucis longus, if it doesn't want to be stretched, it's not happy, but that's actually doing pretty good at the moment. So just taking a little bit of a break off school must be doing your brain some good. Okay, so survival switching, just up from the belly button. Hold. That one's good. Same spot on the spine. Deep survival. Hold. Little electromagnetic points over the heart, plus the same spot on the spine. Hold. That's actually really nice. Okay, we'll check your celestial circuit. And hold. Beautiful. Okay, just because you're a bit of a panic attack girl, we'll also just check a couple of connections between left and right sides of the brain without the fluoros.
Yeah.
So I'm going to check the corpus callosum, which is the white muscle mass or the white nervous system between the left and right. So that's up and running. We'll check the anterior commissure, which is the nerves to the front of the brain. It helps us problem solve. Hold. And just for fun, let's check the hippocampus, the major memory center. And hold. You're doing really well.
Yeah.
Let's add some fluoro in. So, just a little fluoro light. It doesn't stress you out having that over the top of you, like that's not causing anxiety or anything.
Not a fan of it over the eyes, but...
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right.
So now let's go back and recheck. So firstly, the adrenals. And I'm not expecting everything to unlock, by the way. But the more sensitive we are, the more things will unlock. Okay, so the adrenals. Hold. There they go. Hold. Does that surprise you? So fluorescent lights make your adrenals overwork. So fluorescent light has a really thin light, so your brain has to work. If you're under fluoro lights, at university,
Yeah.
fluoro lights are everywhere. So because they're cheap, so they're cheap to run, they're cheap to buy. So your brain ends up having to really concentrate because the spectrum of light, fluorescence is only a really tiny part of it. So when you have to concentrate, it makes the brain work overtime, and eventually your brain gets really tired. Do you go into shopping centres and feel anxious or stressed? Shopping centres have heaps of fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be the people, but it can also be the lights. So anyway, yes, your adrenals don't like it. Hold. Survival switching's okay. Hold. Deep survival's not. Okay. Okay, and hidden deep survival. So we will correct those, of course. Let's check your celestial circuit. And I know everyone always makes a comment on the celestial circuit. But it's actually that one's fine with the fluoros. So it's more the deep survival and the hidden deep survival. Now let's check some of the connections from left to right sides of the brain. Hold out. That's fine, the corpus callosum. And hold out. There goes your anterior commissure. So when that area shuts down, it's hard to problem solve. And of course, the whole thing about panic attacks is you can't think. It's like there could be a huge exit sign flashing in front of you and your brain couldn't comprehend what it means, you know, when you're in that panic attack.
Yeah.
And we'll check the hippocampus, the memory center. And hold. Oi, okay. So the hippocampus, so one of the things that happens under stress is that the hippocampus actually shrinks. So in the short term, your brain's going, don't rely on your memories, you need to act and react. So it wants you to run or fight. So off goes the memory centers of how to get out of that shopping center. Your brain goes, what do I do? So yeah, okay. So celestial circuit's okay, adrenals are overworking, and there's deep survival switching and hidden deep survival. So let's go have a look. Is that in? So I assume we do the survival stuff first, yeah. So in the EMC, MMC, PVSS, right, so it's in the periventricular survival system, which of course means the longer your body is under fluorescent lights, or with EMF, because that's a bit of a, like we're using it as a bit of a overall generalization about EMFs as well. And you know, the average house has about 15 things in it that release EMFs.
Yeah.
You know, between phones and computer screens and microwaves and even a lot of vacuums and anything with LED lights are often releasing EMFs. So lots of stuff. We got one of those OK Google little doodads recently. You say, OK Google, what's the weather like tonight? Just because it's the one sensible thing it can answer. So it's a bit of fun. But then my brother says, so it's listening to you all the time. I don't like that. I go, Anyway, so PVSS. Okay. PVSS, hold, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go scan parts of the brain that we need to correct. Yeah, right. So the more EMFs in your system, the more your body, you know how you said you don't know why you get panicky because you're actually doing okay. So, you know, so then your brain gets confused. I'm feeling anxious, but why? I'm having a good day. Things are good. So this is that part of the brain that's trying to modulate or recognize emotional gear all the time. And so it's called the cerebellovermis. Then I'm going into the amygdala to diffuse the stress associated with it. So when your cerebellovermis gets out of balance, it makes you want to run away. So escape, submission, freeze. So the brain just like, no, I don't like the feeling of this, I'm out of here. Which you can imagine, that's sort of what happens during a panic attack.
Yeah.
Okay. Does any of your family give you a hard time when you take a break from study or anything?
No.
No, so everyone's really supportive.
Yeah.
So this next little area, hold out, is the anterior cingulate gyrus. It's to do with self-judgment. So it obviously links in with self-worth, self-esteem, self-respect, all of that sort of thing. And it's that little part of the brain that wants us to be perfect under stress. You've had good feedback from your lecturers at uni?
Yeah, when I've been able to hand in the assignments, I've
Yeah.
had lots of good feedback.
Yeah. So and good feedback makes you feel good? It doesn't make you feel guilty or silly or anything?
No.
No, just checking.
Yeah, no, I'm always happy when I get good feedback, and even if there's still things to work on,
Yeah.
I don't mind. It's like, okay, well, I've done well, and here's how I can do even better.
Beautiful. So you take it as a good thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got a little 10-year-old I'm treating at the moment, and if she gets a good mark, she immediately thinks of her parents, and she thinks, if I don't get this mark again, I'm going to get in trouble.
Oh.
So for her, getting a good mark means she's going to get in trouble next time, so she's already preempting fear of the next time. I know. Poor little darling. It's almost like she comes in and her parents are both sitting there and I'm treating her and she looks at me. She won't look at them when she's saying these things. Poor little darling. They're spending a lot of money on a school. I don't think that's good for any 10-year-old.
No.
Okay, so the next little area, oh, actually, I'll redo the anterior cingulate gyrus so you feel the difference, or so your subconscious brain feels the difference as well. And hold out. Beautiful. So the next one showing up is the orbitofrontal cortex. This little area. Hold out. Oi. Okay. It makes the brain run a little bit slower so that it can come up with solutions. But solutions often happen in that, 500, especially when your brain's been switched off, so you have to act and react. So this little part of the brain is about finding a solution under stress. And there's fear, threat, danger. So these little amygdala points will relate to different types of emotional gear. And the frequency in this one is fear, threat, danger. So in other words, maybe your brain is getting to that spot where it's fearful of not finding a solution, and you know that then you're just going to be thinking about it, because that's what happens in anxiety. We think about it over and over and over again, and we can't find a solution.
Yeah.
None of us have ever been through that. Okay, so once again, I'll put in those frequencies again so you feel the difference. And hold. That felt stronger?
I think so.
Okay, next little area is showing up as well, the subclausal gyrus. This one's when you get angry with yourself. That'd never happen.
Never.
Okay, because we internalize our frustration and anger at ourselves, and people, it often gets very mistaken, and especially when we know we can do something and then we have a panic attack and your brain goes, but I was doing good. What are you doing to me, brain? Yeah. So your brain goes into a pain and punishment circuit when you're internalizing that anger.
Me, myself, and I have not been on good terms lately.
Okay. Next little area showing up is the reticular activating system. Yeah, right. There's some energy in there. Okay. So this is noradrenaline, long-term stress. So this is all about the fluoro. So because it makes the brain work overtime, it systematically dismantles a few things so that it's just harder to think. Do you feel better outside, sunshine, fresh air?
About the same.
Okay. So this is noradrenaline, so the assumption of long-term stress, linking in with vigilance. Like I say, it could be EMFs as well as fluoro, so it might not. And there's EMFs everywhere. Okay, there's another reticular activating circuit. So just a reminder, the RAS, reticular activating system, is to do with what the hormone the body releases when we're under stress. So whether or not we can get into a dopamine serotonin thing, in which case we get stressed and then we get an oomph and a pickup and a yay, I've got a stress, this is a problem I can solve, or whether we go holy moly, here we go again. So this one is linking in with, so the longer your body's running on noradrenaline, assuming the long-term stress, the more quickly it slows down your serotonin release. So serotonin is, of course, calming and nurturing. Yeah, and then your brain just wants to implode, want to go hide. So I'll just get you to gently touch either side of your nose, their large intestine 20 points. And I'll hold the serotonin points. I remember years ago I had a lady I was helping get off antidepressants, and one of the things that really made sense to her was when we found a circuit where her body was addicted to stress. And I'm not saying this is you, but it's like, if that is your normal, then that is your normal. So what happens when you start feeling relaxed and happy? Your brain can go, holy moly, I'm relaxed and happy, I better not do this for very long because something bad's going to happen. And I've had so many people over the years who have suffered panic attacks, post-traumatic stress, anxiety, depression, and that's their fear of feeling good because they don't feel like it's going to last. So it's almost like worse when they actually start to feel it, which isn't very nice, you know, for the little subconscious brain to jump in and be mean to us like that. It's like, come on, give me a break. So let's go back and recheck the RAS. That's better, okay. Beautiful. Okay. Is there anything else in the PVSS we need to correct? Now let's go check those conscious pathways in the brain. So we'll check firstly the corpus callosum. It was fine before, but we'll just double check it. And hold out for me. Beautiful. Now we'll check the anterior commissure, so the nerves to the frontal pathway in the brain, and hold. Okay, so the survival stuff hasn't corrected the conscious stuff, so it's quite separate. So we're going to amygdalarize, termed that phrase myself, but we're going to amygdalarize the frontal cortex. So what emotions are shutting down the frontal cortex? And it's testing up escape, submission, freeze, the brain wanting to run away. Or freeze. I suppose that's really it, isn't it? In a panic attack, you just can't get out of that moment or out of that thinking. And if the fluoros are indeed, or the EMFs are indeed lowering your ability to stay connected in your brain, then maybe it's about thinking about the things that you can do in a cost-effective way that help to settle things down in your house. So for example, one cheap thing can be to get little bags of, like little linen bags or silk bags or handkerchiefs for that matter. Go buy some from St. Vinny's and put little handfuls of Epsom salts in them. Put them near the, you know, your radios, your TVs, your computers, and that helps to sop up some of the radiation. Epsom salt. And do you have a bath? You don't have a bathtub, I assume.
Oh, I do.
You do. Good old Epsom salt baths. It's just like releasing the day, you know, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to have a bath.
Yeah. Okay, so let's have a look at that anterior commissure again. And again, hold out. Beautiful. And the hippocampus. And hold out. Okay. And once again, I usually do the conscious stuff separate from the survival stuff. I find they are separate little entities in the brain. So this one is, so the hippocampus is about memory. Now, so I suppose if you're in the middle of an exam or you're putting together an assignment or you're just trying to think about solutions, but you're going into that panic, you don't have solutions at your beck and call. So this is fear, threat, danger, shutting down the hippocampus. And once again, that's a normal response. Your brain's doing it to you deliberately so you can act and react. Yay! Okay, so in relation to the hippocampus. And hold out. Beautiful. Now the two main things that shut it down are fear of failure. And hold, that one's fine, and fear of success. And hold, they're actually fine. So that's interesting. So the fluoros are messing with the main pathways in the brain, but not with the emotional gear in the brain, which is sort of interesting. And yet they put the body into survival patterning. Okay, just interesting. Anyway, so I would suggest some of those things around. Do you burn essential oils?
as much as we could.
Yeah, so, and even you know, funnily enough, doing things like saging the house and that sort of thing, that's more about negative spirits and negative entities, but you know, that can help to just clear energy, making sure you get fresh air. Do you open up the windows a lot?
I try to.
Yeah, cool. That yes, that makes a big difference. We had a spooky thing. Did the girls tell you?
They told me that something was going on.
Something weird was happening this morning. Pictures were falling off and stuff was blowing out the the printer. All very fun. We needed Sanu's special brand of Anyway, so there. Hopefully that shows you another little layer of how things are connected. Oh, just a sec. I know what I didn't do was recheck this. Okay, so once again, I'm going to double check that the survival stuff is showing up as clear and that the adrenals are doing okay. Okay, so firstly the adrenals, and hold, and hold. So that's much better. I always check all three survival things. Survival switching, deep survival, and hidden deep survival. Beautiful. So that's, yeah. So just be aware of fluoro, sort of, because maybe if you become more aware of it, you'll have a bit of an inkling about what might be going on. And maybe because there's so much EMFs around these days, maybe it always feels like that. So once again, I'm not sure what you can manage to fit into your life, but if EMFs are building up, then they can build up histamines in your brain as well. So stuff like vitamin C, you know, or even fresh orange juices and things like that. Do you girls go to the markets and buy your foods or anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe thinking some fresh juices to help to just cleanse the cell walls. Eating cleanly, of course, lots of water. Do you get to purify your water or not there yet?
Not there yet.
Okay. So just something to have in mind for the budget at some stage down the track, even keeping an eye out for, you know, one of those clay pots, you know, those sort of things that, just something just so you're getting a better water supply and getting some of those toxins out of there, just one more thing. But in the meantime, Epsom salt baths, doing the best you can. Even lemon juice in water helps to alkalize it a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just anything that will just help to cleanse your cell membranes of EMFs, fluoros, histamines. Cool, thanks.
That's right.